One can discern the criticism of the quadrilemma in the 7 standpoints from which it is weaved. Ditthikatham suggests the speculative nature of the weave. Tanhagatam may well refer to the desire that prompts one to entertain these weaves. Sanyagatam reminds us of the sensory origin of the same. Manyitam points to the thought activity or imagination that precedes their formulation. Upadhanagatam refers to the grasping aspect which makes them dogmas. Vipattisaro emphasizes the delusion and wavering that they bring about. As for Papanchitam, we may infer that it visualizes the proliferating, expanding, and diffusing quality of the speculative weaves in question. The above quadrilemma is actually illustrative of those qualities, since it is an unwarranted extension of linguistic conventions to what it transcendental.
Yeah, one moment. So actually, last time we discussed this part. So basically, we have referred a particular sutta in Anguttara Nikaya, where Kathakunda Thero has referred basically Abhyakata Vattu Sutta. So there actually he has given an example, and I have taken some more information from another sutta. Altogether, there are 10 indeterminates, and with respect to those last 4 indeterminates, which is referring the after-death experience of a Tathagata, that means after-death experience of an Arahant. So there are people making various questions, asking various questions, and Buddha simply kept them aside. So Buddha didn't go to answer them, because all that are various viewpoints, ditthigatametang, and they are ways of craving, tanhagatametang. They are ways of perceptions, sanyagatametang. They are basically based on imaginings, manyitametang. And they are conceptual proliferations, papanchitametang. And they are causes or issues of grasping, upadhanagatametang, and they are source of remorse, vipattisaro, eso. So that is how we have discussed last week. And now we can get on to the next paragraph, where another interesting discussion happened between Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Mahakottita. You know, sometimes these paragraphs, these discussions conducted between 2 arahants are not because that certain arahant is not aware of a particular thing, but very much like they seem to have these kind of very profound discussions on various subtle points, so that it will be recorded and ultimately the Dhamma will be properly transmitted without any kind of a doubt, without any kind of a perplexity. Because sometimes certain subtle points, if we are going to analyze, we can give various kinds of interpretations, and that can connotate various wrong views or various wrong ideas. But when the Arahants themselves have discussed these things, so they know what is the extent that they need to discuss, they know what is exactly the proper meaning. So in that sense, these kind of discussions are very, very important. And particularly the suttas, certain Arahants are asking questions and another Arahant answering those questions. And maybe one layperson asking a question and another Arahant or Arahant none answering these questions. And these things are very, very interesting. For example, in the Chula Vedalla Sutta, Visakha being a non-returner asking various questions from Arahant nun Dhammadinna. So Dhammadinna is answering very beautifully to various profound questions. And in the Mahavedalla Sutta, now there Venerable Mahakottita is asking various questions, very profound questions, and Venerable Sariputta is answering them. And here also another sutta, Mahakottita Sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, again similar discussion has happened between Venerable Aniruddha, Venerable Mahakottita and Venerable Mahasariputta, and that is also very interesting sutta, and we will go to that, and probably Saman, you can read from that point now.
Yeah, Bhante. The dialogue between Mahakottita and Sariputta at Anguttara Nikaya 2.161 also gives us an insight into the conceptual prolificity implied by Papancha. Here again, 4 questions put to Sariputta by Mahakottita assume the form of quadrilema relating to the transcendental. Chandang ayuso passayatananang asesa viraga nirodha attanyang kinchiti mahevang auso. Chandang ayuso passayatananang asesa viraga nirodha nattanyang kinchiti mahevang auso. Chandang ayuso passayatananang asesa viraga nirodha atticha natti chanyang kinchiti mahevang auso. Chandang auso passayatananang asesa viraga nirodha nevatti no nattanyang kinchiti mahevang auso. Chandang auso passayatananang asesa viraga nirodha attanyang kinchiti idiputto samano mahevang avasu. Auso tivadesi. Channang nattanyang kinchiti idiputto samano mahevang auso tivadesi. Channang attancha natti chanyang kinchiti idiputto samano mahevang auso tivadesi. Channang nevatti no nattanyang kinchiti idiputto samano mahevang auso tivadesi. Yatakatam panauso imassa bhatitassa atto dattabboti. Channang auso attanyang kinchiti itivadang appapanchang papancheti. Channang auso nattanyang kinchiti idivadang appapanchang papancheti. Channang auso atticha natti chanyang kinchiti idivadang appapanchang papancheti. Channang auso nevatti no nattanyang kinchiti idivadang appapanchang papancheti. Yavata auso channang passayatananang gati tavata papanchassa gati. Yavata papanchassa gati. Tavata channang passayatanang gati. Channang auso passayatanang asesa viraga nirodho papancha nirodho papancha vupassamoti. Pray, brother, when the six spheres of contact cease without residue, is there anything still left? Say not so, brother. Pray, brother, when the 6 spheres of contact cease without residue, is there not anything still left? Say not so, brother. Pray, brother, when the 6 spheres of contact cease without residue, is it the case that there both is and is not anything still left? Say not so, brother. Pray, brother, when the 6 spheres of contact cease without residue, is it the case that there is neither is no, is not anything still left? Say not so, brother. To my several questions thus put, brother, on each occasion you reply, say not so, brother. Now, what am I to understand by this? Brother, he who says, when the 6 spheres of contact cease without residue, there is still something left, is conceptualizing what should not be proliferated conceptually. Repeat with regard to the other 3. Brother, whatever is the range of 6 spheres of contact, that itself is the range of prolific conceptualization. And whatever is the range of prolific conceptualization, that itself is the range of 6 spheres of contact. By the utter detachment from and the cessation of 6 spheres, the 6 spheres of contact, there comes to be the cessation, the aliment of prolific conceptualization. Sariputta disallows all 4 alternatives, saying that they reflect an attempt to indulge in papancha, where one should not resort to it. Apanchitam ske arapancha, hypothetical. He points out that the scope of papancha is to co-extensive with the range of 6 senses, and that the cessation of spheres of 6 senses without residue results in the cessation of allurement of papancha. Thus, the quadrilema of Mahakottita turns out to be yet another illustration of the presumption attempt of phenomenal consciousness to transgress its limits of applicability, that is, the empirical, by overflowing into the transcendental in the sphere of speculative metaphysics. Dogmatic speculative weaves are by far the most virulent and typical instances of papancha in the sense of prolific conceptualization.
Yeah, we'll stop here, Saman. Now, here we can see Venerable Kottita is asking a very interesting question. So basically, he is referring the cessation of 6 sense bases. So that means 6 sense bases are not operative in their sense-based point of view. Now we know that if we look at something through our eyes, it tempts us to think. We have seen something, it's beautiful, I want to look at it again, I want to go closer to it, I want to have a photo, I want to write something about it, I want to own it. So likewise, there are tendency in our mind. So what we see, we want to either possess, we want to appreciate, we want to be with, or we want to get out of it, we want to get rid of it. So likewise, there are many after effects are there when we see something. Similarly, when we hear something, when we smell, taste, touch, and even once we get a thought, so we do various things. So we are tempted to do something. So we can't simply, be peaceful. Rather, we are used to, or we are habituated to do something. So therefore, we can't simply follow the formula given to Venerable Bahir. Ditte ditte mattang, sute sutta mattang, mute mute mattang, viññāte viññāta mattang. We can't do it. So basically, what Buddha asks Venerable Bahir is to stop at the mere seeing. Once you see something, stop there, just mere seeing. Don't start any kind of a proliferation. And if you hear something, you just understand, okay, it is just mere listening, mere hearing. Other than that, nothing is there. So you just stop there. Don't do any kind of a fabrication. And similarly, if you come across any kind of a smell, taste, tangible, so don't go after that. Don't think about it. Don't generate any thoughts about it. So how about keeping the mind calm? How about keeping the mind very peaceful? And similarly, if there is a thought to the mind, any idea, so it can simply go away. You are not being tangled with it. You are not triggered by that. You are not disturbed by that. You simply allow it to fade away. So this kind of a mindset is basically promoting, in a way, little inactive state of mind. By the way, it is an awakened state of mind, because one may understand, okay, if we continue to proliferate, if we continue to fabricate, if you continue to construct, so then the mind continuously get agitated, rather than you come to a state where, okay, now I need to stop all these fabrications. I need to stop all the proliferations. I need to stop all volitional activities. I need to stop all the graspings. I need to stop all initiations. So basically, this is a very interesting turning point one may reach during the Vipassana meditation, where sometimes we can emphasize it as that you are transferring yourself from doing mode to being mode. So we were in the doing mode. We want to do something, we want to act, we want to proliferate, we want to think, we want to act. So likewise, we are in a constant struggle, and we want to do something. We are habituated to do something. But Vipassana meditation takes us to a state where mind is not interested of doing, but rather it prefers to be secluded and stop all the constructions, stop all the fabrications, so that mind remain very quiet, calm, relaxed, and in a particular rest. Now, once you are there, so what else is there? Now, this is a question Venerable Kottita is asking. Once you reach a particular point where the function of six sense bases are, now I have explained only to some level, but Venerable Kottita asking to the perfect level where completely the senses are ceased. So that means their sensory activity is very much like ceased. Now, as I mentioned, when we see something, it is not mere seeing that we start so many other corresponding activities, post activities, resultant activities. But once we stop all that, seeing becomes mere seeing, but the eyes does not generate any kind of agitation in the mind. Similarly, when we stop all kind of fabrications with respect to sounds, ears or sounds does not make any agitation to the mind. So similarly, there are no prapancha, there is no any proliferation in the mind. Mind remains intact, away from all those sense stimuli, sense impingements. So basically, mind can maintain its stability. Mind can maintain its clarity. There is no entanglement. So likewise, it's a very stable state of mind that we are talking here. And sometimes Buddha referred this also as a kind of a sense base, but it is not really a sense base. But from the sense base point of view, he sometimes referred this state as well. Probably you know that Kama Guna Sutta in the Salayatana Samyutta. I'll give me a second. I'll share this with you. I'll stop you for a moment. Someone, I'm sharing my screen. Here you can see this is in the Salayatana Samyutta, Kama Guna Sutta. And Buddha encourages monks to, for a particular kind of an understanding, where he mentioned something like this. Se ayatane veditabbe. Yatta chakkuncha nirujjati rupa sanyacha virajjati. So here actually, instead of nirujjati, we can better say as virajjati, as mentioned in the certain other books. So that means the eye ceases and the various forms, the signs of forms simply fade away. Similarly, ear ceases and the signs of sounds fade away. Now, say for example, you are not hearing anything, but at the same time, you can have certain signs of sounds, even though you can't presently hear something. So you can remember various songs and you are remembering them. So that means something related to the sound, you are still sort of dealing with. But at this level, this hearing function also has stopped. At the same time, all the sounds related signs, perceptions, all that also has faded away. Similarly, nose ceases and the smells fade away. The signs of smells fade away. And the body ceases and various tangibles, the signs of tangibles fade away. Interesting point is, yatta manoja nirujjati dhamma sanyacha virajjati. Se ayatane veditabbe. So where the function of the mind also ceases and various mind objects are all fade away. So that means the typical function of the mind. So what is the typical function of the mind? We can simply say it is the thinking. So thinking is there. Thinking is representing our typical active mind. So when you think, so you feel your presence. I am thinking. I am here. I had a past. I am right now living, and I have a future. So I am living. I am so and so. I am a person. I have my identity. So this wrong view of existence coming to our mind because continuously mind thinks. But here, interestingly, that thinking part has completely stopped. Mind has stopped thinking. So the mind has ceased. But that doesn't mean that you are dead or you are sleeping. You are still fully awake, but thinking part has completely stopped. And whatever you have used to think, in the sense that what are the objects of your attention, objects you are thinking, and various ideas, your imaginations, all that also has faded away. So very much like your mind has come to a complete standstill. It has stopped. There is no proliferations at all. And this is the cessation of the 5 or 6 sense bases, and typically it is explained as the state of Nibbana. So when you are there, so mind has completely stilled, calmed, relaxed, no tension. There is no any inner movement. There is no any desires, craving. So the mind has come to a complete standstill position and very relaxed, calm, peaceful state of mind. So once someone reach here, now Venerable Kottita is asking, what else is there? So this is a question. What else is there? So then Venerable Sariputta says, okay, don't ask that question. And then Venerable Kottita is asking, so once you reach there, isn't it any more? Then Venerable Sariputta is saying, so don't ask that question. And then Venerable Kottita is asking, so once you reach there, are you saying that there is something and also there is no something? There is nothing. So don't ask like that. Similarly, the last statement, according to that Kadrulemma, so are you saying that there is no anything and there is no anything, something like that? So that Kadrulemma, he's asking that also. Venerable Sariputta says, don't ask like that. So basically, so at this state of Nibbana, where complete cessation of proliferation has happened. So if you mentally imagine and proliferate and logically think, rationally think, and try to get an answer, what is more than that? So then Venerable Sariputta say, you are appa pancham papancheti. Once you reach a place where it is not suitable for any kind of a proliferation, now you are still trying to proliferate. You haven't stopped there. Say, for example, very much like, say you are participating in a race, a marathon. Say once you reach the end, suppose there is an end point and you are still running. You didn't recognize the end. You're still running. So that is kind of a stupidity, basically, because we don't know the end. So similarly, once we reach complete standstill position of the mind, there are no entanglements, there are no tanglements, there are no any kind of a perplexity, there is no any proliferation. Mind is in utter peace. So then we just need to stay there. That's it. Just be. Now you know you can't do anything. You just be. So don't proliferate here. Now once these 6 sense bases have ceased, once you attain the Nibbana, the complete peacefulness, just be. Because if you do something further, that means you again agitate the mind. Again you do some kind of a fabrication. Again you arouse various kind of sankhara. So you lose that Nibbanic state of mind. So therefore sometimes people tends to come up with various dogmatic speculations. So people are very profound, very fond of those kind of speculations. Actually, these speculations are not on mere, economic crisis or that kind of a mundane kind of activity. Rather, these are very spiritual, fairly transcendental, kind of activities on which now they are proliferating. So they are trying to come up with various conceptual interpretation to something very profound. So this often happen with the, say, scholars, maybe with philosophers. This can often happen because they don't know the limit of thinking. They don't know where to stop. They don't know sometimes where to stop all the conceptual proliferations. So basically they have gone beyond their limits. So this is something very interesting point that sometimes we tend to go ahead without calming down ourselves, without relaxing the mind, without allowing it to be at peace. We still keep on struggling. We keep on proliferating. We keep on thinking, but the answer is already reached. Already you have the answer. But not knowing it is the answer is a huge ignorance. So that's why sometimes even though people are meditating for many, many years, they couldn't recognize the peaceful state of mind where non-grasping happens. Now there is no any personification happen. Any kind of, say, preparation of person, making a person, constructing a person does not happen. So that has completely stopped. You are not interpreting yourself as a person, or you are not manifesting as a person, as an individual, because there is no any kind of a grasping. Grasping is necessary for you to become someone, but there is no grasping. Mind becomes completely objectless. There is no object either. And mind has stopped because there is no object. So likewise, this state of mind, we can say its utmost level or the most profound level is the Arhatapala Samadhi, where the complete cessation of the six sense bases have happened, and all the signs, that means Rupa Sanya, Saddha Sanya, Gandha Sanya, Rasa Sanya, Pottabha Sanya, Dhamma Sanya, all those different signs pertaining to the objects have faded away, and so that mind experiencing complete clarity. And so on such situation, Venerable Sariputta emphasized, you should not entertain any kind of a proliferation. You can't entertain any proliferation if you are really there. But once you are out of that, you probably can logically think about it. You can rationally think about it. You can compare that with another mundane state and you can come up with various questions. But then you are not really in that state. And here Venerable Sariputta makes a comment telling, the range of the six senses and the range of the papancha are similar. So through the papancha, you can go onto the range of your eye, onto the range of your ear, range of your nose, tongue, body, and the mind. Ultimately to the mind. Say through the mind, you can think so many things. But still, it is only that limit. So your mind can reach wherever, almost like no limit. But still, that is the mind's range. And in that range, you can proliferate. But once the mind ceased, there is no proliferation. When there is no thinking, there is no even a thought, then it's kind of a complete standstill. So mind remains calm. Mind remains peaceful. There is no doubt. There is no kind of a perplexity. So this is something difficult to understand simply by, say, rational thinking. Rather, time to time, if you are a vipassana practitioner, time to time you might come across this kind of a state, not in the most perfect level, but at least time to time, a very short period, where you feel like kind of a complete standstill. You feel like everything has stopped. The whole world has stopped. And you are not tempted to do further things. Instead, you prefer to simply dwell in that present moment. Simply enjoy that present moment. And you are not tempted to any kind of a further desires, any kind of further craving. Rather, you want to be secluded. You want to be completely satisfied, completely stilled. and you prefer such kind of a stillness, such kind of peacefulness. So while there, you can't think. Thinking has stopped, but you are fully aware. There is no any kind of a thinking or any kind of a sign in the mind. Rather, mind has come to a complete clarity. There are no thoughts, but still fully awake. So the awareness is there. So sometimes people refer it as pure awareness, unconditioned state of mind, no object, so something like that. So anyway, so these things are interestingly discussed by the Arahants. So sometimes we, being speculative characters, probably we may want to think further. Even after understanding Buddha's teaching, we want to think further. But here we can see, if we are thinking further about this kind of a cessation of six sense bases, that means we have not understood the limit. We are proliferating on something which is not suitable for proliferation and which is beyond the range of proliferation. Something like that. So with that, actually, I like to conclude today's Dhamma talk, which is based on this little difficult part on the conceptual proliferation and where some transcendental kind of a state is explained. And if you have any questions, now we can take for our discussion.
Sarai Bhante, we have 6 questions today.
Right.
Question number 1 of 6 is about mindful sitting. Dear Bhante, due to multiple reasons, I do not get time to allocate time for sitting practice. Day-to-day activity mindfulness is not that great as well due to time pressures and stress during the day. I find 2 things which I can do without much effort seamlessly during the day is walking mindfulness and watching the mind. Due to my previous practice of years under your kindness, I still can manage to focus on the walk even within the busy and stressful day, observing the sensations on my soles. With that gathered mind, I can watch how various thoughts come, linger, victimizing me and go away. Since I am unable to control these thoughts and most of the time become victim of these thoughts and lose mindfulness regularly, and it might not be a quality practice as we do in the sitting. Thought of seeking Bhante's advice if there's anything to improve the quality of this type of makeshift, time to time, 10% mindfulness, 90% distraction effort. With metta, that's the end of the question.
Yeah, by the way, I mean, your effort is kind of appreciable because you are not completely lost, but you are trying your best. And even in the typical daily activities, you are trying to maintain some awareness and certain amount of mindfulness is there. You still may understand sometimes you are completely distracted, but still you can return back. Anyway, you can involve with some formal practice as well, sitting, walking, some formal practice as well, so that the 10% can become 20%. The 20% can become 30%. So likewise, gradual improvement is possible as you continue your practice. So include some formal practice as well. Probably you are already doing that. So it will help you to further enhance your experience so that it is not that you are 90% distracted, rather you are less distracted. 10% distracted and 90% you are in the present moment, something like that. Say you are turning yourself, you are changing yourself, improving yourself. With time, it may happen provided you continue your practice.
Thank you,
Back to
Bhante.
you, Shamila. Yeah.
Hiranti, we will take your question once the written questions are done. This question number 2 of 6 is a general question. Dear Bhante, thank you for explaining the finer points of Buddhist meditation and psychology. Please comment on my experience both during meditation and an experience I had in the past. 12 years ago, I had the experience of being subjected to a general anesthetic for coronary bypass surgery. I have vivid recollection of having an anesthetic gas by a mask and the anesthetic drug injected into a vein. then almost instantaneously waking up in the intensive care unit, ICU, with a chest wound incision and a drip in the arm. The period of over 24 hours seemed to have been erased from my awareness, not recorded in my memory. It is as if the period I was under anesthesia and was subjected to surgery was spliced out, and a segment of my life, film-like narrative edited out altogether of what should have been retained my memory in normal life. I recall at first seeing my surroundings, the ICU, then having the memory arising of the event before surgery, and then instantaneously the rest of my memory of my life came upon me. Is that how consciousness, Vijnana, arises? I recall that the arousal of memory instantaneously thoughts seem to occur. I now think that it is the point at which the creation of an illusion of I, me, etc. appears. Is that the reason why Vijnana is likened to a magician's trick? Please explain if this sequence of consciousness arousal is correct as described by the suttas given by Siddhartha Gautama. I have been practicing mindfulness meditation diligently since 2019. I now have realization of this process arising from moment to moment. I am in the habit of telling myself that the feeling of I, me, a moment ago is not what I perceive now, this moment. Thank you. Thero Saranai. That's the end of the question.
Yeah, very good. Actually, that is what we wrongly perceive. That means we get the wrong perception of an existence. When we have a memory, we feel that I have existed in the past. And currently I am experiencing something. And similarly, tomorrow, maybe day after tomorrow, in the future, I am going to experience another thing. So likewise, we combine all these past, present, future experiences, and we get the wrong notion, wrong view, that I am existing. So I am. So basically, the wrong view of existence comes to our picture, and so that we get the wrong notion of a person. Person is existing. Person is living. An individual is living. I am living. So this kind of a wrong interpretation can happen because of this sort of past, present, future type of engagement. But as you correctly mentioned, so past is merely a memory happening right now in the mind. Mind remembers past events, but they have completely gone. They have completely finished. They are no more available. But with respect to the past, there are various speculations, various thoughts, various perceptions, various images, various signs, which can happen in the mind, but they are merely signs. They are merely thoughts. They are not the real past. So likewise, as we further and further understand this illusion, probably we are not interested of filling our mind with a lot of memories, past memories. We don't want to think too much about the past memories, past events, because they all have gone. So that's why Buddha encouraged in the Bhaddekaratta Sutta, as probably you might have known, Atitan nanvagami yanatpatikanke anagatam yadatitam pahinantam appattancha anagatam. So don't follow after the past. Don't encourage any futuristic events. Past has gone. Future hasn't come yet. Simple as that. So it's a wrong kind of an investment that when we are doing that, thinking too much about the past is a waste of time. Imagining about the future is also a waste of time. Time to time, probably if it is really necessary, if there is an advantage, probably we can think about the past or the future, but under our supervision. When it is necessary, we should be able to stop the mind. So it's easy to say than doing it, making it, but anyway, that should be the path. Back to you, Chamida.
Question number 3 of 6. This is on mindful walking. Dear Bhante, during walking I can establish mindfulness after about 50 rounds, noting left and right, when the sole touches the ground. Sometimes this takes 15 to 20 minutes long. Afterwards, the mind becomes calm and quiet. Noting drops off and walking happens in an automatic nature without much involvement from me. Lately, I started recalling this calm state and imagining it as it at the start of walking and try to get to that state from the beginning. Sometimes I think this can be even a mind-made fantasy without my knowledge. Appreciate Bante's advice and clarify if it is possible to plunge into these calm states at the start. Much merits for your guidance with metta. That's the end of the question.
Chamila, can you repeat the first few sentences of the report?
Yeah. During walking, I can establish mindfulness after about 50 rounds, noting left and right when the soles touches the ground. Sometimes this takes 15 to 20 minutes long. Afterwards, the mind becomes calm and quiet. Noting drops off and walking happens in an automatic nature without much involvement from me. Lately, I started...
Yeah, so basically, this is where we come to a kind of a samadhi state where mindfulness is to some extent available and there are no much disturbances to the mind. Now, continuously, you can maintain your attention on the selected subject, selected series of objects. So good, but not enough. So at that stage, now you need to thoroughly investigate what is under your nose. Say your foot is touching the ground. Continuously, you are able to experience that. Now, what exactly are you feeling? Is it the hardness? It is the softness? Is it the weight? Is it the kind of the lightness? Is it the movement, vibrations? Is it hot or cold? So likewise, now you need to go to a very fundamental kind of a experience rather than simply satisfying yourself with this mere tranquility or mere kind of a simple happiness, which is of course a product or result of mindfulness practice, but we definitely have to go to the development of the wisdom. So here the wisdom does not automatically develop, rather we need to initiate this process. Yatha tatho viranto tan dhammam panyaya pavichinati pavicharati parivimansam apajjati. So Buddha explains how to develop Dhamma Vichaya Sambojjhanga. So once you are properly established on mindfulness, you need to initiate this process. You need to investigate the whole different kinds of phenomena. You have been mindful on certain phenomena, now you need to investigate those phenomena. How they are arising, how they are changing, how they are passing away, what are their changes, and what is the very much like their intensity, those variations. So likewise, you are very much like a scientist. So you are doing a very close examination of various phenomena which have come under your scrutiny. So that you need to start, and that only will provide you the development of the wisdom.
Question number 4 of 6 is a Dhammasaman question. Dear Bhante, if someone very close to us, for an example, a teenage child, is inquisitive about the indeterminate questions highlighted in the Dhammasaman, what would be the most appropriate answer, Bhante? With metta. That's the end of the question.
Now, say for example, if someone is asking, okay, whether this world is infinite. So it's difficult to answer actually. If you say it is yes, it is infinite, probably someone else can come and argue, okay, you are saying it is infinite because you don't know its limit. But I know that it has a limit. He can challenge you like that. Because you can't prove that the world is infinite. You can't prove again world has limit. So when someone is telling, okay, world is not infinite, instead it is finite. It has a boundary. It has a limit. Probably someone else can say, okay, you are telling it is with a boundary, it has a limit, because you have very narrow vision or you have very narrow knowledge. But I have more knowledge. With that, I know it is infinite. So likewise, for both sides, there are arguments. So there is no point of arguing like that. So it's a waste of time. So as the Buddha mentioned, once you are hit by an arrow, So asking who has hit the arrow and what's the made up of the arrow, any particular poison involved in that arrow. So asking so many questions about the arrow without allowing someone to extract it. It's a waste of time. So similarly, all these indeterministic questions are based on some kind of a wrong view, and particularly about the last four ones, talking about the experience after death or after death experience of an arahant. So those are, I mean, quite logical problems, but based on a kind of a wrong view, thinking that there is a person, that person, once he has gone through the arahantship, once he passed away, what has happened, what is going to happen to that person? So that very bottom line understanding or very fundamental understanding of a self, a person itself is the main culprit, main issue, and it is based on the personality view. So if you can explain that to that fellow, the child, it is good. But anyway, it's something deep that it might be difficult to convince them, that we can admit.
Question number 5 of 6. This is also on the Dhamma sermon. Dear Bhante, what is the state of all 6 senses bases cease to contact? Is it Nirodha Samapatti? That is the end of the question.
Yeah. So typically it is said Nibbana, not the Nirodha Samapatti. So one can say it's the Arahattapala Samadhi. Now you can refer this sutta I have shared with you, what we call the Kamaguna Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 35.1, 35.100, Kamaguna Sutta. I can put you the link, or rather, how to say, I can share the chat in the chat. So basically, if you can refer the answer given by Venerable Ananda telling this this Salayatana Nirodha is what Buddha has referred, and that is the Nibbana. And according to the commentary and to other scholars, so it is the Nibbana. So basically, so that state of mind, as I just explained, so no point of thinking, because you have arrived the Nibbana. So the mind is in the Nibbana state. It has realized the Nibbana. Enjoying the Nibbana, dwelling in the Nibbana is what we can do.
Question number 6 of 6. This is a Dhamma sermon question. Dear Bhante, if one reaches complete cessation of grasping, meaning a state of arahant mind, can that be missed? I have heard if you are enlightened, it cannot be missed. With metta, that's the end of the question.
So these are, I mean, so at the beginning, probably you can miss, because still you are not sure about it. You haven't experienced that. You don't have any hands-on experience about this state. And since there is no any manifestation of a self, you might not much feel about it. So that's why a fair amount of encouragement, fair amount of, say, guidance is required at such kind of a state, even though Vipassana is capable of producing that state, that Tadanga Nibbutthi, temporary kind of a liberation, but you can miss that. But once you has given a little bit of a prominence to that, and you try to be with it, you try to experience that slowly, you may start experiencing that for a longer time. And again, the Vipassana practice is capable of producing that state repeatedly. So as a result of that, now this experience become a kind of a familiar experience. It is not something completely unknown. Rather, you being aware of this, what is unknown. So unknown area become known to you. So you are dwelling in that unknown now, knowingly. Nothing is there, by the way. There is no object, there is no experience in the sense of the 6 senses, but you are simply there. But there is no experiencer either. That's another very interesting point highlighted by the Buddha. So that's what I can refer with respect to the various suttas explained by the Buddha.
So that's the end of the written questions. We have about 5 more minutes, so I will let Hiranti ask the question.
Yeah.
Hiranti, you can ask the question.
Thank you. Thero Saranai Bhante, I just want to clarify when you concluded the sermon, and you mentioned that the sense organs fade away, and that's how the mind then ceases. I didn't really quite get what you were trying to say. Are you asking us to practice in that manner, or that is the way normally it happens? Did I make it?
Yeah. So basically, this difficult to answer also. Now, as far as I can say, only an arahant may be experiencing the perfect kind of nibbana, because he is completely free from any kind of lust, hatred, delusion. And again, he may be, while in the arahata pala samadhi, probably he may experience the complete cessation of the 6 senses, as well as the mind has completely stopped. But before that, to some extent, Vipassana yogi can experience some little similar experience. We can't say he is experiencing it to the fullest level, but rather a glimpse of experience could be there. And probably you can refer, as Venerable Bahir's advice, where he is still not an arahant. Venerable Bahir is not an arahant when the Buddha was delivering that discourse, but Buddha is talking about a fairly profound restraint. Once you see, you got to stop what you see. Once you hear, just stop what you hear. Once you smell, taste, touch, just stop what you experience. And once a thought comes, you just cognize it and just stop there. So that means before we are talking of a very profound 100% Nibbanic kind of a state, rather we need to experience these kind of milestones in our practice. Are we able to now walk in our walking path, even though we see things, mind is not interested about what we see. Even though we hear things, now mind is not interested about what we hear. So likewise, these are certain measurements or kind of measuring points that we can use to scale our practice, to assess our practice. So if we are capable of doing that, as Buddha mentioned to Venerable Bahir, then slowly we may understand, okay, I am not making a self in the outside. I am not making a self in the inside either. And I am not making a self in between either. Then you are experiencing a fair amount of peacefulness, stillness of the mind. But still, it is not perfect. It is not completely permanent. It is subjected to the understanding, the wisdom that you are able to grow as a result of your practice. That's why the term Tadanga Nibbute is referred in the Dhamma as to develop Vipassana, so that Vipassana knowledges, that wisdom is capable of delivering the mind or releasing the mind, freeing the mind. But the time period depends, or the quality depends on to the level of your understanding. If you have thorough understanding, probably that deliverance, that free experience can be able to maintain for a longer time. It could be more and more pure. But if our Vipassana knowledge, understanding that wisdom has a limit, not that matured, then our experience also may be limited to a very short period, and there may be a little influence coming from the defilements as well, even though a fair amount of freedom is there. So therefore, I would like to answer your question not directly telling, okay, this is it. Rather, this is something that we can experience during one's practice. So if we are able to experience this kind of a milestone, then we can say, okay, we are in the correct direction. It's a matter of further maximizing our practice, involving in the practice, continuing our practice, then slowly, so our understanding may grow, non-grasping state of mind also will grow.
And to clarify that, Bhante, sometimes when we are walking or when we are not observing properly, somebody might say, "Oh, have you seen that?" But I haven't seen it. That is one aspect of it. But then secondly, we do try to forget some things, thinking it is, oh, just leave it. It's just causing problems. And it is just, so there are two aspects to it. So which one are you seeing?
Both actually. You can, as you correctly mentioned, we can probably forget things. So this is a kind of a transition that one may be going through in his practice, because the now mind does not prefer to hold things. But typically mind stores so many things, necessary things, unnecessary things, harmful things, worrying things, sorrows, all that without much discrimination it stores. And ultimately mind becomes sick, completely stressed out. But as a result of the practice, now mind understands its seclusion, its independence, its freedom. Now it doesn't want to hold much things. So it's a tendency developing in the mind. Now rather than holding, grasping, clinging, now it starts discarding, dropping, letting go. Now this can have a little effect in the typical mundane daily life, because we may start forgetting something, forgetting some important things. Then we have to, find some typical solutions like using a diary, using your phone, handheld device to, memorize yourself, putting certain reminders, because you need certain amount of memory to operate in the society, in the mundane life. But it is not something bad, by the way, because unnecessary thoughts, unnecessary memories are one cause of suffering which we may be experiencing. Now that is being dropped, so your mind becomes more and more lighter, improved with clarity, and it is experiencing certain amount of peacefulness. So likewise, some positive aspects are there.
Thank you, Bhante. Thero Sarnai.
Thero Sarnai.
So we've just gone over a little bit of time, so I think we have finished the questions. We can close the program for today. So to end the program, I would first like to pass our merits and thank Bhante for his valuable time with the busy schedule at the monastery, to all the supporters of this program, both seen and unseen, and to the participants for joining today to practice and share their questions. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thero Sarnai.
Thero Sarnai.